Back to our coverage on the situation in Afghanistan and the frankly chilling warning from the U.S. Embassy Kabul that U.S. officials are telling Americans to stay away from the airport in the Afghan capital due to security threats. And it's now a race against time as U.S. forces work frantically to evacuate Americans and Afghan allies by the end of this month. According to the Secretary of State, as many as 1,500 Americans are still in the country. Charlie D'Agata is in Doha, Qatar, where many evacuees have arrived, and more will probably today, and is here to join us. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning to you, Christina.
What do we know about the people who are at the evacuation center in Doha and the conditions there?
Well, I can tell you it is crazy hot here. It's going to be 115 degrees, which is complicating things as soon as they arrive. And they've already accepted 40,000 people. Just think of those numbers in the past few days at Al Udeid airstrip, the U.S.-run airstrip here in Doha. Now, there is one silver lining. Doha is supposed to be sponsoring or hosting the next World Cup, so they have plenty of accommodations, and that's where they're putting a lot of these now refugees from Afghanistan. And the foreign minister has said recently they just didn't expect that many children, that many babies. There's a lot of pregnant women among them. So, you know, these desperate refugees, 40,000 of them, they'll be housed here for a while. It's filling up. They don't have that much room for this many people to try to figure out where they go next.
And have you heard that they've found a better system to try to process people so that they can leave? Those airplane hangars were sent, those pictures were sent to me by someone on the ground there who was saying it was just filling up and filling up. And as you mentioned, it's triple-degree heat, and it's, you know, there's limited bathroom breaks because they have so many people. They don't want to overwhelm the system. I was hearing the problem was processing. It was getting them cleared and secured so that the government in Qatar would feel comfortable enough sending them to those hotels or to those other locations. Are you hearing that that's picked up any?
Well, that's exactly right, and that is what is causing the bottleneck. They can't just arrive here and then be shipped out right away. They have to be identified, has to be processed, and that system needs to be speeded up. And from what we understand, it has been speeded up. But again, just the sheer volume of people that we're talking about, and a lot of these guys are difficult to identify. You know, having spent so much time in Afghanistan, they don't have the kind of papers that you and I might have, you know, the passports and other identification documents. And there, of course, will be people that are just trying to get away for very obvious reasons. There'll be some good guys and bad guys among them, and that's why you don't want to rush these things, but they're trying to speed up and expedite the system that's in place.
Now, the U.S. is telling Americans and other people not to go to the airport in Kabul because of this potential terrorist attack. What is behind that, and what does that mean for evacuations and on a clock that's frankly running down fairly quickly?
Well, you know, Christina, this is the point, because it coincides with the clock ticking. You know, people are rushing to the airport in order to get out because they know that U.S. troops are going to be pulling out within the next 5 days. The Europeans have decided to stop their mass evacuations as of tomorrow. So there are a lot of people, thousands of people, who are willing to take the risk anyway. However, this is a very serious risk, and it comes from intelligence agencies in Britain, Australia, and the United States that ISIS in Afghanistan, ISIS-K, the ISIS branch in Afghanistan, may be intent on targeting the airport. And there's a good reason to do that. ISIS in the past has launched spectacular attacks against civilians in Afghanistan. They've been overshadowed by the Taliban, of course. It's a much smaller organization, but they do go after soft populated targets. So this is a perfect target for them. You've got the presence of U.S. and foreign forces there. You've got a huge crowd, of course, and it will also test the resolve and any security structure that the Taliban may have in place. ISIS will be determined to destabilize Afghanistan. They are enemies of the Taliban. And I'll tell you this, I have been on embeds before where the U.S. has been backing up Afghan forces to clear ISIS militants out of villages, and then they stop at a certain point. They said, why did they stop there? And they said, that's Taliban country. The Taliban can sort them out. So ISIS and the Taliban are absolutely rivals, and ISIS will be taking advantage of what's a security vacuum, not only in Kabul, but in other areas around the country.
But Charlie, you've talked to these people, I've talked to these people, the risk they've already taken to get to Kabul, to get to the airport. Is there anything, any kind of terrorist warning you think the U.S. could give them that would keep them away from the airport at this point?
They just don't have that kind of footprint. I mean, you know as well as I do that the number one priority for U.S. forces is force protection. Whenever you send a number of soldiers into an area, you have to make sure that they themselves are protected. So their footprint and their perimeter is going to be pretty marginalized. And they have been depending not only on the Taliban and cooperating with the Taliban, but on remaining Afghan forces. It's a strange mix of who is providing, if you can call it security in air quotes, around the airport. It's the perimeter and the place around the gates. Well, you've seen those terrible scenes where people have been stampeded and people have been killed trying to get to the airport. It's not in any semblance of being under control. So it is a very porous environment where, you know, an opportunist attack like an ISIS car bomb or a complex attack could be launched. And I think that's why, I mean, it seems pretty obvious that that would be a target, but they must have received, as they call it, clear intelligence that ISIS is intent on targeting them. Now, they can't, the U.S. forces can't really safeguard the Afghans, and I think that's, or Americans for that matter, and I think that's why they told them, stay home, do not go to the airport, and if you're at the airport, leave.
Charlie D'Agata keeping track on this all from Doha. Thank you, Charlie, very much.